Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another exciting program to bring you about life and work in rural America. You know, I've mentioned many times on our podcast about the opportunities and innovation that are available and happening here. In the area of rural health care, we had Dr. Misty Todd on Outdrive several weeks ago. Dr. Todd is the director of the University of Missouri Rural Residency Program at Bothwell Regional Health Center, and she talked about the great things they're doing at Bothwell to train resident physicians. Today, we're fortunate to have one of those physicians on as our guest. Levi Harris is a doctor of osteopathic medicine at Bothwell. A Missouri native, Levi shares his perspective on the program and what it's like living and working in rural America. He's very down to earth and approachable, and I'm sure you're going to find this episode very interesting and educational. Welcome to Outdrive, Levi.
Good morning. It's nice to speak with you this morning.
Same here. You know, I think we have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about what it's like to be a resident physician. I think people are curious about that, and you know what you like most about practicing in rural Missouri. And then I want to get your take on rural America in and of itself. But before we go down any of those roads, let's start by having you tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am a resident here with the University of Missouri here in Sedalia at Bothwell. I'm married and have a couple of dogs as well. I'm originally from down in Southwest Missouri area, Springfield, and have lived in Sedalia here for the last year.
So, what was it like growing up as a kid?
It was pretty awesome. I was always kind of an outdoorsy kind of kid. My mom actually home educated all of the family. So myself, and then I have a twin brother, and then two older siblings, two older brothers as well. And so we always had kind of more of an independent lifestyle in that regard. And I feel like I was pretty industrious growing up, always was finding ways to work, always either remodeling the house or learning music, teaching myself and my brother music. Always was pretty busy doing something. And so, yeah, it was fun.
When did you first know that you thought you might want to be a doctor?
Yeah, so early exposure to medicine was actually kind of interesting. It was in a vet clinic. I was a vet assistant with a friend from church, actually. He was the veterinarian. And I loved the medical part of taking care of animals. We had kind of a variety, mostly small animal clinic. We did some large animal, but by and large, it was a small animal vet clinic. And so I enjoyed being around the dogs, the cats, things like that. But I also enjoyed the medical part of it as well. Always found myself fascinated by the surgical aspect of veterinary care, as well as taking care of the small pups. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, my early kind of exposure to medicine was actually more of a veterinary aspect.
Interesting. So, what'd you earn your undergraduate degree from Missouri State in?
Yeah, so that was in biology, and then I had a minor in chemistry. So again, was born and raised in the Springfield community area and decided to attend Missouri State University for my undergraduate studies. So actually, when I started there, my twin brother and I both started at Missouri State, and we both had an interest in music early on. And I was undecided kind of in what I was going to do when I applied for college. And then when I first met with my advisor, it was pretty evident with my goals of potentially going to medical school, kind of the pre-medical route would be the best course of study. And so, I mean, clearly I have my doctorate now in medicine, but typically you do a 4-year undergraduate degree. You have to have a bachelor's to start medical school. And decided that biology would kind of be the best route for me. I honestly was not sure initially if I was going to, go to med school. It was an interest of mine, but I still wanted to have an undergraduate degree that could accommodate, other interests, maybe wildlife management or kind of other careers in a similar related field.
So at what point did you decide, yes, I'm going to medical school?
So it's kind of hard to describe. Clearly, there's a lot of competition in undergraduate, pre-medical studies. A lot of people just aren't sure what they want to do yet. For me individually, it was when I worked with my advisor, Kathy Hughes, actually at the time. She was kind of viewed herself as, or at least she viewed her job as one to get students into medical school, and she took it very personally. And so we talked a lot about different options when we first met, again, different majors, minors, things like that. So she's the one who helped me kind of decide on biology. And then throughout my time with her, it just became more evident that going to medical school wasn't as far out of reach as it appeared. And kind of just working to get good grades. She helped me with some leadership opportunities at the university there. I was kind of involved in Senate, also led like a campus ministry my first couple of years as well. And then when it came to taking, specific tests and applying to medical school, she was right there beside me, kind of helping me choose which schools I wanted to apply to. And thankfully was able to get into med school, and then started the journey thereafter.
So where'd you go to med school?
So yeah, that's a great question. It was not in Missouri. So clearly home educated in Springfield, went to undergrad in Springfield. It was likely to stay in Missouri, but I actually had family at the time in Orlando, Florida, and always wanted to live in Florida. I loved the heat. I enjoy running in the heat, and decided to apply to the Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine out in Sarasota, Bradenton area. So if you're familiar with where Tampa's at, it's just about 1 hour south of Tampa, kind of by Siesta Key and Lido Key beaches. So made the decision to apply there. I did apply to a few schools in Missouri, as well as one in the Carolina region, and then one down in Texas. I ended up getting an early interview to LECOM, was accepted, and made the decision to go down to Florida for a few years.
Well, living around Siesta Key had to be a major distraction for medical school.
So it was at times. I think I only found myself actually going to the beach after big exam days. So it was a problem-based learning system, and that was our curriculum. So every medical school kind of has their own design. And so either problem-based learning or patient-based learning, they're both kind of similar. The way the classes are constructed is you still have kind of your normal pharmacology, physiology, anatomy, biochemistry sort of classes. But in addition to that, you have the way our system worked was, 3 times a week, we would meet as a group and discuss medical cases from like a patient-based or problem-based learning. And so we would maybe read about a case and kind of figure out what was going on as a group, and then collectively read topics about that, about the problems associated or involved in that case. And then following that, we would have kind of a comprehensive exam every month. And so these exams were longer, bigger exams. And so after those kind of big exam days, we would typically go to the beach for the rest of the afternoon. Aside from that, I did not, again, find myself going to the beach all too often. I was somewhat busy.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. Well, it sounds like you used it sort of as a reward for the hard work that you were putting in there. So
Yeah, it was a
so your
blast.
medical degree is in osteopathic medicine. What's the difference between a DO and an MD?
Yeah, great question. And there are a lot of misconceptions out there. There is still a difference, and I'm proud to be a DO. I applied both to MD and DO schools. There are some DO schools in Missouri in addition to MD schools. An example of an MD school might be Mizzou or St. Louis University, or Washington University has one as well. They have MD programs, or what we might call allopathic. And then there are osteopathic programs in the state of Missouri as well. There's one in Kansas City, as well as AT Still out in Kirksville. And the big difference is kind of going back into the 1800s, the kind of osteopathic DO profession was started by an AT Still. Initially, he was actually an MD who was working in the military or had some experience in the military and was using some early manipulative treatments to treat disease. So think kind of like chiropractor, not quite. Over time, there's been a definite merging of DO MD education. We're held to the same standards as MDs or allopathic training in several regards, including kind of our postgraduate study. So DO programs, MD programs, they're both 4 years. We take many of the same exams now. So all of these standardized board exams that any MD would take, I've taken this, what we call step examinations, in addition to the shelf examinations. So there's a series of exams throughout med school that both DO and MDs have to take. And then once you're done with your DO or MD, you still have to do what we call graduate medical education. And that would be the residency that I'm in now. But the biggest difference between DO and MD are actually in those 4 years of medical education. So in addition to all of the normal anatomy, physiology, pathology, disease, studies, we as DOs also learn some manipulative treatments and additional musculoskeletal care. I have an interest in musculoskeletal medicine and in sport, in the world of sports medicine. And so even back then, early on, the DO route offered me a little bit more education in that training. And that's kind of why I chose to go to LECOM in addition, of course, to its proximity to the beach.
Makes sense. So what is a residency then?
Yeah, so again, medical school is the standardized 4 years of medical training that every physician has to take. And then we have graduate medical education or residency. And so after medical school, to be board certified in a specialty such as family medicine or internal medicine or general surgery, you have to do a formal program of training in that specialty. And so for me, that's family medicine. And it's governed both by the ACGME is this body that allows institutions to have these residency programs. And then again, it allows you to be board certified in family medicine. And so my training is 3 years. So I did, undergrad 4 years, medical school 4 years, and then I'm in residency now. Something else that I also did was I did do a master's in public health, which is kind of like epidemiology study at Yale. And that was a 1-year program. It was mostly, studying and researching in the field of preventive medicine, which is something I use every day as a family medicine resident for sure, the knowledge and kind of education involved in that program. But yeah, so I did that kind of in my 4 years of medical school. I took a year off to do that program. But now again, I'm in the residency aspect. So that's just a standardized 3-year training program. And so when I'm finished, I'll be able to sit for a board exam in family medicine and then become a board certified family physician.
That's a great training program. So what brought you to Bothwell?
Yeah, so Bothwell is kind of we have a new residency program through the hospital. So Bothwell is the hospital. University of Missouri is the institution that kind of sponsors the residency as well. The University of Missouri has a long history in family medicine. They've had a family medicine program there for many, many years. And also they have a legacy really in in the world of, in the area of family medicine, a very strong program there. And so initially through, applying to residency programs, your 4th year of medical school, it's quite a stressful time. And the Bothwell program was new at the time. My co-resident and I, Brittany Pendergraph, were actually the first 2 residents that applied and matched in the program. And 2 things that attracted me to it, I have an interest in underserved medicine. So think of like urban underserved and rural, and the, education that, education opportunities that we have at Bothwell is quite broad in a system where we don't have a lot of subspecialists in a rural area. There are many things that we're able to do in the clinic. There are things that I do at the family doctors, such as skin biopsies, joint injections, vasectomies, pap smears, really all of your things that as family doctors we can do, we're educated in. And so that's one thing that really attracted me to the program. But then also, living in a smaller community close to home. So with some of my family still living in Springfield, being at Bothwell and Sedalia offered me that family connection as well.
Sounds like a win-win. So,
Absolutely.
how did it feel to be on the ground floor of a new program like that? That had to be pretty exciting.
It is. It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. We have some amazing leadership, which it makes it a lot easier for Dr. Prendergraft and I. Something that I've enjoyed is the leadership aspect. And so looking back throughout, high school, undergraduate, and in medical school, always enjoyed leading. I was the president of a few clubs, both in undergrad and in medical school. I was very active in the AMA, the American Medical Association. I chaired a committee for that organization as well. And so actually being a new program was really interesting to me at the time because it kind of gave me the option to make of it what I wanted. And so Dr. Prendergraft and I, as kind of the first residents, have been able to work with Dr. Todd, our program director, Dr. Fredrickson, Dr. Emery, and Ellie, our coordinator, to really make this program the best it can be. And that's everything from the day to day, kind of figuring out our schedules, learning how to make this program the best educationally for our residents, as well as learning how to make this program the best it can be in serving our patient population, right? So clearly having a residency program at Bothwell is unique. It's, a rural hospital. And we already, have been able, even before Dr. Pendergraft and I were here, we're able to take great care of our community. But I think allowing the residency, to be here has definitely, changed things. And it's been really cool to be on the ground floor of that and learning how to navigate the daily, work in clinic of having a residency and working around schedules. So as a resident, I do have my own patient population. And so, anybody in the Sedalia community can come see me as their primary care physician. But I'm also not in clinic, 5 days a week, as a lot of the physicians are. I'm typically only in clinic 2 to maybe 3 half days a week. And so that, is unique. There's been a lot of education for our nurses and our staff on how, we can be used and how we can be involved in patient care. Oftentimes people might confuse us for medical students, which is totally fine. But we are physicians, and so we can care for our own patients. And so it's been really cool to be on the ground floor of that and educating both the hospital staff and our community on what we are, what we do, and in maximizing the learning, potential of the residents here at the Bothwell program.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think teaching hospitals are only in big cities, but certainly there's a need to learn about rural medicine and in rural communities as well. And I know that you mentioned some names of people I know, physicians I know that are involved in the rural residency program. What kinds of things have you learned from them?
Absolutely. So quite a bit, to be honest. The nice thing about being here is even though we are primarily in training to be family doctors, as a family physician, we have to know a little bit about everything. And the common saying is womb to tomb. And so we deliver babies, we take care of newborn babies. I've delivered many babies at Bothwell myself. I'm able to care for the newborns. I'm able to see the moms in clinic. After that, we think of, sports physicals and in the teenage sort of years. I'm regularly at the Smith Cotton Games. I go to a lot of the soccer, baseball, softball, wrestling matches, football games, really volleyball. I've been able to, see, the community in that aspect. Again, we've talked about kind of the maternity side of things, obstetrical care, gynecologic care. And then I also have patients at the nursing home. I'm able to help patients that maybe are going through being on hospice and sort of end of life care. And so, yes, Bothwell now is a teaching hospital, right? We teach residents. We've been teaching med students for some time through the University of Missouri Link program. And so this is, the residency is just another, aspect of that, another facet of physician education. So we have been here quite, there has been some education, going on at Bothwell already previously. So for our education itself, Dr. Pendergraft and I will use this as examples. We spend our first year mostly at the University of Missouri, which is kind of a larger academic medical center, while we also see patients in clinic in Sedalia. And so our first year is kind of split between Sedalia and Columbia. And then years 2 through 3, we spend quite a bit more time in Sedalia. And so instead of just doing clinic here, we also do obstetrical care, gynecologic care with our affiliation with the OB-GYN clinic. We work with the surgeons through Surgical Services of Sedalia. We work with the orthopedic center with the Bothell Orthopedic and Sports Medicine, pulmonology, internal medicine. We really get a good depth of education across all fields of medicine. And the whole basis of this is, as family doctors, it's appropriate for us to learn the basics of general surgery. I mean, we can oftentimes see patients in clinic for surgical things that maybe don't need surgery, or pre-surgical things that we can then appropriately send them to surgery when needed. And so it's a benefit to us to kind of have that broad scope of practice. Here we also get some dermatologic knowledge as well, which again, that's something else that without Sedalia currently having a board certified dermatologist, many of those skin concerns we can see in clinic. And that will give the residents of the program even more training wherever we go next to serve our community with kind of a strong core of dermatology and dermatologic knowledge.
Well, we're glad you're here and we appreciate what you're doing for the community. If someone is listening right now and they would like to get an appointment with you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so the clinic that we work in, Dr. Pendergraft and I, as well as our colleagues, Dr. Steens and Dr. Ferris, is Bothwell Family Medicine Associates. And we are located at 3700 West 10th Street in Sedalia. We actually just moved to our new location. It's a wonderful new facility there. And so they can, either call that office directly, which you can find that information online, or you can call the main Bothwell number and speak with the operator and schedule an appointment that way. But we do have, appointment options. We're seeing new patients and adding to our panel. The nice thing about being in our practice is we have a great group of physicians alongside us that can also see patients throughout the day when we're not there. And so it's always nice to have a good, strong clinic to allow our patients the opportunity to see other people if needed for same day appointments when they're available.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing that working in that collaborative environment allows you to go to those more experienced physicians when you have situations that maybe you're unsure about or you just want to get another opinion. Does it make it easier because they're around there?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a part of our training is having an attending physician working with us. And so there is always an attending that kind of oversees our work and is making sure that we're doing the right thing, though oftentimes we're really just asking them questions to make sure we are. But in addition to that, you have a broad level of knowledge, right? I mean, you have attendings that have been there for 20 years and 10 years and 5 years, and it's very collegial. There may have been somebody that graduated residency 2 years ago that knows something that somebody who's been there 20 years doesn't. I mean, there's always so much to learn in medicine. You're never going to run out of things to learn. And so it is wonderful to have such a large group of physicians there that can help us on complex cases, as well as some things. I mean, Dr. Pendergraft and I can, teach them as well. Something we've learned the other day or have read recently that's updated or changed. Medicine is ever changing. There are newer medications coming out faster than ever, a lot of new technology. And so it's great to have that collaborative working environment.
That's a great perspective, Levi. I think about in our own business, marketing business, marketing changes a lot as well. It's driven really mostly by technology. And we have a fairly aggressive internship program. We like to have an intern all the time, although we don't. And sometimes we have two at a time, which is nice. But, those young people are bringing ideas to us, things that they've learned in school, things that they've maybe picked up on because of their age or their generation that they're in. And it's helpful for all of us to share, what we know with each other to make us all more well-rounded. So are you in your final year of residency?
Yeah, so kind of, yeah, future practice, what it looks like for me. I am not quite yet. We have one more year after this year. So I'm finishing up my second year now. And next year, Dr. Pendergraft and I will actually be sharing some chief responsibilities as chief residents in the program. And so that will allow us to even help lead the program a little more in a unique way, as now we've been here for 2 years. But I do plan on doing more sports medicine training in a fellowship program. Like I said, I work a lot alongside a lot of the athletes here and the athletic trainer through the Sedalia, school district, and plan to carry on that education in a formal sports medicine fellowship, which is yet another year of training that allows me to learn more of the ins and outs of primary care sports medicine. And that's a kind of a mix of musculoskeletal care, like non-surgical orthopedic care, in addition to heart and lung issues that pertain to athletes. Clearly, in the world of sports medicine, there is a lot of orthopedic injury, but just as much there are medical conditions that athletes might have that, as a primary care doctor, gives me the opportunity to learn a more specific skill set that I can apply to the athlete population.
Yeah.
And so for that, I'll be applying here in the upcoming months, and then we'll see where life takes us next for that. Long-term goals for my family and I would be to end up somewhere in Missouri, probably. We, have family here and would love to stay in the Missouri area.
So how have you and your wife enjoyed living in Sedalia?
It's really been different for us. We've really enjoyed it. It's the Katy Trail is, I think, probably our favorite aspect. And then the community feel, right? So even with our attendings, um, it's just so different from city life of any size. Many of the bigger, more academic residency programs, you're kind of cut off from your supervising physicians. But here we have wonderful collaborative friendships, and it's a much more small town feel, most literally. But yes, I mean, being from Missouri, the weather is kind of on par, but things that have made it better are having access to a wonderful trail system. The Heckert Center is a great place that we oftentimes will swim at or work out. And so the community has been wonderful. So many wonderful churches in the area, and it's really been nice to settle down in kind of a smaller town with a more relaxing setting. I mean, residency can be grueling at times, and having a town to just feel at home in has been wonderful.
So have you been able to get involved with any of the musical outreach here using your musical talent?
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, because I mean, clearly I do have a background in music. At this time, I've not had the ability to, return to my historical musical interests. There is, I know, a symphony here that, my wife and I had thought about, we've thought about attending. We've not been able to make it to any of their performances yet. But on a music performance level, Cliff, I've not performed really any music in so long. I don't think anybody would want to hear it, much less pay to hear it. But I know that there are a lot of opportunities in the area. We just have not quite made it out to any of them quite yet.
Understand. Well, you're kind of busy right now.
Yeah, sometimes.
One other thing that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to draw out of you, you talked about being involved in extracurricular activities both during your undergraduate educational career and then also during medical school. Do you feel like the extracurricular activities were beneficial in helping you get into med school?
Yeah, and so Cliff, I'm very much a proponent of everybody has a journey that they're on, and they'll end up where they're supposed to be. I mean, clearly it was work to apply and matriculate into a medical school program. But honestly, I always have done things that I've enjoyed. I don't think I've made an effort, and maybe subconsciously I have, but I feel like I've not made a great effort to do things and to attain a level of leadership. I've just always enjoyed it. I know, again, my advisor in medical school or in undergraduate, pardon me, at Missouri State, kind of always influenced me in that direction. I think if, for people who are wanting to go to medical school, I mean, as a physician, as a provider in the growing medical field, we are looked up to as leaders. And I think it is beneficial to have some experience doing that. As far as the extracurriculars, like such as music and, some of the leadership, things I did. I think it's good to be able to connect with people, on a broad level, people of different careers, right? I mean, my patients are not in the medical field by and large, right? They're farmers, they're ranchers, they're electricians, they're plumbers. I think my involvement in home remodeling or playing music does allow me to have rudimentary conversations about a large degree of careers, which it helps me build that bond, right? I mean, if I have, a patient that, does not in the medical field, I want to be able to, connect with them on some level. I think it makes my job more fulfilling for sure to feel like, my patients have that connection with me and that I understand where they're coming from when they're explaining something, right? Somebody that's in, body shop work or auto body work or, mechanic, right? Like being able to connect with them on that level allows me to explain things better to them from a health perspective. And so for, the whole application into medical school and applying and, for those of, might be listening that's interested in medical school, I think it's good to have those experiences, but I think it's really good for everybody to have a broad subset of skills and knowledge just to be able to bond with your, community and have those connections.
Yeah, that is very, very important. Talking about our community, we're located in rural America. When I say those two words, what's that mean to you?
So yeah, I think again, growing up in the Springfield community area, I used to view kind of Springfield as rural, and I think in some ways there was a rural feel, right? I mean, tight community in Springfield and the surrounding areas. There are more farming, areas. I think to me, what pops into my mind is farmers and ranchers and people with lots of land. Think really now I think more of community. I think rural, is smaller, oftentimes smaller cities, smaller towns with tighter communities without a lot of the resources maybe that, a larger city has. I think, in Sedalia, we're blessed with State Fair Community College, a wonderful, educational opportunity for people that live in Sedalia. We have Bothwell, which is a good system that has a good number of subspecialists now in different areas, and I think that's wonderful. But a lot of rural communities don't have that. They might not have a hospital at all. They might have one clinic, one family doctor. They might not have all of those resources. They might not have a lot of opportunities for advancement. There might not be a college. There might not be as good of a school system in some of the smaller, surrounding towns. And so I think that's kind of what rural now means to me is both a mix of stronger community, but also less opportunity sometimes. And so I think Sedalia kind of qualifies with some of that in terms of the small community. But thankfully here we do have a lot of opportunity for advancement and things in that sort, but of that sort. But I think as a family doctor training here, I think it's given me the resources to maybe serve in a more underserved area, whether that be more rural or more urban underserved, to bring the skills that I've learned here into that community.
Well, that's interesting. And it's fantastic to hear you say that because, again, we appreciate what you're doing for our community. And, I hear the word community and rural put together a lot. It's kind of a common thread throughout our podcast. And it's always kind of reassuring to me because when we think about rural, we kind of think about mindset. And certainly size comes into play, but it's also lifestyle and relationships and how you treat people and all that. I've really enjoyed visiting with you today. You seem very down to earth and approachable. And it's exciting to know that you are taking on new patients right now. So if someone's looking for a young family physician to help guide their medical life, that Dr. Levi Harris is available at this particular time. So as we wrap up today, Levi, what else would you like to share with our OutDrive audience that you think they might find interesting or maybe even inspiring?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, coming from somebody that has not lived in a rural community before, I would like to think that moving to a rural community is something that people think about. I mean, clearly, I know that's the focus of the podcast. Rural communities, there is a lot to offer, and for I think there's just something I think a lot of people don't honestly think about at times. But again, Sedalia has been wonderful to me and my family, and we've been excited, to take on this journey the last year or so, and the next year or so here in a strong community with just a wonderful, group of people that's helping us along the way. And so I really appreciate, Cliff, you allowing me to be on the podcast and talking to you about my experience and all of the things that I've learned and have yet to learn, both in the world of medicine and in life in general. So,
Well, I've enjoyed visiting with you, and I'm kind of one of those like you who believe that things work out the way they're supposed to. So I wish you and your wife all the best as you progress in your career, wherever that might lead you.
awesome. Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Levi. And thanks to our audience for listening to Outdrive today. I hope you have enjoyed our visit today with Dr. Levi Harris. Come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America, where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.